like risk being on the streets somewhere. Like because I'm not only going to go to Disney. If I go, like, I would want to go, like, around, go to the beaches and stuff, but, like, at the same time, I'm like, would I even be safe doing that? I don't know, you just hear so many horror stories coming out of the US about that type of stuff, and I'm just like, I don't want to risk it. As a Canadian, it feels like, I don't know. Which place in the US do you live? I don't live in the US. I live in Canada. I am Canadian. If I'm gonna die, it's gonna be in a cool way. I don't know. Not safe to wander around alone. Yeah. It's what I like about here. Like, I have to worry here about, like, being, like, stabbed or raped. But, like, I don't have to worry about being shot. Which I take for granted. And it was a couple years ago that we had our second mass shooting in our history. Our second mass shooting. We've only had 2 mass shootings. And that was, one was in Montreal in a school that I cannot remember the name of, even though I really should, because I had to do a whole project on it in school. And then there was one in, I believe, Nova Scotia a couple years ago, where a man went on the run, and I think he stole a police car or something like that, and he managed to kill, like, 20 people. It was our biggest mass shooting. And our biggest mass murder. And that was when it clicked in my brain, like, how lucky I was to, like, that was never something we were worried about. Like, that was never something I was ever concerned about, and I can't imagine, like, having to fear that every day. And this was actually, funnily enough, a conversation we were having at the election, because somebody jokingly came in and said they were going to vote for Trump. Now, obviously, they can't vote for Trump because we're in Canada. Like, Trump's not one of our political party leaders or, like, a candidate in anything here. He can't even run here. And then, like, that got us on the topic of, like, American politics and, like, gun policies. And I never realized how lucky as a Canadian I was to not have to worry about that. And even in that time when it was happening in Nova Scotia, it didn't, there wasn't, I knew I was still safe. You know? Like, I wasn't concerned. Obviously I was concerned, but, like, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know, it just kind of clicked in my brain of, like, how grateful I am that I went to high school every day and I didn't worry about anything. Well, I did. I had people trying to kill me, but that was different. I realized, looking back, like, I did fear for my life going to school for every day, but I wasn't worried about a gun, and I wasn't worried about my classmates being killed. I just had to worry about a grown man trying to kill me, with his car in the parking lot, or breaking into the school. I also brought that up, and the look on my poll clerk's face when I was talking about my stalkers, he was horrified. He was so horrified. I was like, oh yeah, no, like, there's just, like, this, like, 50-year-old man who was just, like, you know, him and his daughter were just constantly going after me. She threatened to stab me. She tried to push me down the stairs. He tried to hit me in the parking lot with his car. He tried to get into the school. Oh, man. It was, like, a whole thing. It was so funny. It really was not funny at the time. But it actually kind of really was funny at the time. It's still funny looking back on it. And then sometimes I'm like, maybe I'm not traumatized. Maybe there's actually nothing traumatic that happened in my life. And then that flashes before my eyes. I'm like, huh. Yeah, no, that probably screws up a 17-year-old. That might screw with a 17-year-old, potentially. I love that my nemesis is a 50-year-old man. I don't know, I shouldn't find it as funny as I do, I really shouldn't. I probably shouldn't talk about it either, because I feel like they love to sue people. They love their court cases. So, like, watch them try and take me to court. Even though I have videos Like, I have video proof of her, like, threatening me and saying, like, oh, does anybody want to kill her? Like, somebody go kill her. Because she got suspended. She got, like, kicked out of school, right, for a while. They were like, no, you can't. And she was still posting videos to her Snapchat. The edge of your ceiling, there's no black on that. Oh, are you talking about that? No, that's shadow. That's just the shadow. I cleaned that. Here, we'll go up to it. That is cleaned. This just shadow. She clean. But, oh, bye, Ronnie. But what was I saying? You know, like, this story where my friends could see, and they cannot bankrupt me in court. I don't think they even have the money to take anybody to court anymore, because they're already fighting a court case at the moment. Actually, funnily enough, I think their court case went up to the Supreme Court in Canada recently, because he was a military officer. There's a whole thing going on. I'm not going to comment on that, just because, like, that's her own business. That's not something I want to be involved in, even though, funnily enough, she did try to get me involved. And they were like, oh, can you testify? And I'm like, no, I cannot. And my parents were like, absolutely not. You're not bringing my daughter into your court case. But anyway, that was an interesting time. That was something else. But anyways, yeah, no, this girl was, like, literally posting death threats on her Snapchat story where my friends could see and were obviously sending it to me and recording it and being like, the fuck? Because they had all cut her off because we were all a friend group. And then they cut her off because of ongoing issues that they all had between themselves. And I was like, okay, I'll be her friend, because I didn't understand the extent of what was going on. No one really explained it to me. And so I made the mistake of being her friend. And then they were a little bit much. Were you ever worried? Never ignore threats like that. Yeah, no, the police were involved. Like, there was police involvement. These threats weren't taken lightly. They weren't charged with anything. Looking back, if I, like, here, like, in Canada, you don't have the option to press charges yourself. The police decide what's worth pressing charges for. So, was she minor at the time? Yes, we were both minors. However, her father was not. Her father, who is actively trying to get into the school, because he is mentally ill, I believe. I'm not entirely sure. I feel like you have to be mentally ill to pull this type of shit. But he was obviously not a minor, so that was fun. It's like that everywhere, though. No, in the U.S., you can say, I want to press charges, but in Canada, like, you can say, like, hey, I'd want to press charges, but they can just be like, no, we're not pressing charges. Or even if you don't want to press charges, that's not an option. The police will still press charges if they feel the need to press charges. So you don't get a choice. The police make the decision. So, like, if something happened and it was, like, a domestic situation and the wife was like, no, I don't want to press charges against my husband, the police would still press charges. They could still press charges against him. Like, it's not, you get no choice here. The police decide. So I don't really know what happened with that. I was largely kept away from it, which I do thank my parents for, because while I did have to deal with the police when they first called them, because they tried to get my parents arrested so that they could put me and my siblings in foster care, because they wanted to foster to adopt me after I told them I wasn't going to move into their home, which is what started this. So in the U.S. you can ask to not press charges. Yeah, apparently. Apparently that's a thing there. But, like, this all started because I didn't want to move into their house, and I told them I didn't want to move in their house. They called the police, tried to get my dad arrested, put me in foster care so they could foster to adopt me, which started this whole spiral, because I was like,